Hello, and welcome to the first episode and the return of the BrettCast. This is where I take my series and jam them all into one video that releases once, maybe twice a month. With that introduction out of the way, let me tell you what I have in store for the first episode here. First, Gaming Talk will kick things off with discussions for Civilization 6 and Lords of the Fallen. After that, Music Talk will come in, and I will catch up on some new albums that I've listened to from some of my favorite metal bands, as well as talking about an upcoming album I'm very excited for. Finally, I'll bring things to a close with What's New With, where I'm going to be talking about a bunch of upcoming Transformer figures. With that, let's get things started. Hello, and welcome to the Gaming Talk segment. On this segment, I have two games I'm going to be discussing. The first is going to be Civilization 6, the second will be Lords of the Fallen. And now, let's jump into Civilization 6. But before I do, I just want to say that I will only be talking about the base game and not the DLC. With that, let's go. What exactly does one do in a game like Civ 6? Well, let me tell you. When you start a game in Civ 6, you start by picking from one of the many leaders that all have some sort of bonus. You then pick the map size and the difficulty, and you get into the game. You'll start the game with a group of settlers and warriors, and then you pick a spot to plop down your first city. From there, it basically becomes upgrading your city as well as expanding and making more cities, and if you really want to, you can take over other cities. Of course, having cities means having to take care of them, meaning you have to provide the people with housing and food and entertainment so they don't leave or rebel. You also have to deal with random barbarian tribes that will come and try to attack your cities, and they do more than actual other cities will do to you, which leads to the biggest part about Civ 6 that I'm not the biggest fan of. So there are other named cities you will stumble upon with various leaders. The thing is that, at least in my experience, those other cities, they will not attack any of my cities, nor will they build up their cities either. Apparently, it's a big issue with the game, and it's the reason I stopped playing Civ 6 before trying all the various leaders. The AI just doesn't try, and it creates absolutely no challenge, and it makes it very easy to win, and yes, even on higher difficulties. Another thing is that when I did win, I would usually always get a cultural win, even if I would try for like the science win or whatever other way there is to win. It just seemed hard to win any other way. Here's a reason I would recommend. Here's what I would recommend if you're interested in Civ 6, and that is to buy the game on sale. I bought it for like $6 just for the base game because I didn't feel like spending a lot of money not knowing if I would like it. I didn't want to waste money on the version with all the DLC and then not like it or only play it for a few hours. Civ 6 is by no means a bad game, but the AI just doesn't try, and that makes no challenge, and that makes the game boring. Civ 6 is a good game, but it is just kind of boring. That's all I have to say about Civ 6, so let's move on to Lords of the Fallen. Yes, I have done it. I have made it through the absolutely most awful Souls-like game, and it's not even a From Software Souls game. This is my third Souls game I've played, the other two being Dark Souls Remastered and Neo, which I have not finished, and I've given up on twice because the level design is too maze-like. And now I'm going to be talking about Lords of the Fallen. As far as I can tell, the story in Lords of the Fallen seems pretty simple. The demon realm has invaded our realm. You basically have to stop them. They try to make some moments between your character and others, since like the guy you play as is some sort of criminal and was going to jail when the demons attacked, and so at one point you meet with the guy who runs the army, and he doesn't like you because you're supposed to be locked up, but I don't see him doing anything about the demons. But yeah, you gotta defeat the demon lords, and there's a slight plot twist, but I'm not going to spoil that for the 1 or 2 people who do actually want to play this game for themselves. So what did I like about Lords of the Fallen? To be honest, I really hate this game, but not for the reasons you were thinking. Yeah, it's a Souls game. Yeah, meant to be difficult and all the things you'd expect playing a game like Dark Souls or Neo. You expect to die a lot for reasons that are not always fair, but one of my experiences with Lords of the Fallen is somewhat similar to the experience I had when playing Neo, and the reason I didn't finish Neo. But this game was a lot worse than Neo, and, you know, it was obviously worse than Dark Souls Remastered in this regard, too. Something I give Lords of the Fallen credit for is that there's always an objective on the screen, but the problem I have is always with the where the objective is and how to get there, and I'm not kidding. Sometimes I would spend an hour or 2 wandering around completely lost and frustrated. There's a lot of backtracking you do too if you want to get locked chests that you didn't get earlier, but I didn't do that because half the time I couldn't even remember how to get back there, but that's because my memory sucks. But yeah, I know some will disagree with what I am going to say, but I think Lords of the Fallen would benefit from some sort of map. The other thing I had multiple times is if I fell to my death in the game, my screen would just go black and nothing would happen. I did hear music and audio still going on, but the screen would just be black. The game never crashed here, and to be honest, I don't know what the game was doing when this happened. But basically, every time I would die, I would just get a black screen. Most of the time, I would have to Alt-Tab out and back into the game to bring up the pause menu just to close the game, back to desktop, and then go back into the game to continue on. A few times I could just press the pause button on the controller, close the game, go back to desktop and reopen it and go back that way. But that was only very few times. I also want to say that these two things were so prevalent in my game experience that 90% of the time I was playing the game, I was pissed off and frustrated for these two reasons. Is there any part of the game that I did like? I mean, the bosses were pretty much just humanoids or creatures in armor with swords. They looked pretty cool. I don't feel like the combat was all that much different feeling than in Dark Souls Remastered. I also found it odd at the beginning of the game. They make you pick a class, which it's like, do you want to wear light, medium, or heavy armor, even though it doesn't matter because you can wear whatever armor you want. And you can pick up whatever weapons you want and use them. I am glad that this game had more music in spots, which is something I felt that Dark Souls Remastered could have used. Unfortunately, those two major issues I outlined earlier pretty much affected my entire experience, and because I was pissed off and frustrated every time I would play, I was not able to have fun playing the game. Lords of the Fallen is a bad game and is not enjoyable, and I cannot recommend this game unless you like games that are extremely confusing and that has multiple bugs and glitches to put up with. To be completely real, the way this game turned out makes me cautious about the upcoming CI games. The way this game turned out makes me very cautious about this developer's upcoming Lords of the Fallen sequel. Like, they boast about it being 5 times larger than this game is, and that it'll please fans of both Elden Ring and The Elder Scrolls, since it's supposed to be an open world game and also be very interconnected like this game is. But I've not seen any gameplay videos on it. I'm just concerned that being bigger and very interconnected as this game is may make for an even more confusing and frustrating game, but maybe they'll give us an actual usable map this time. Who knows? But that's all I have to say on Lords of the Fallen, and is the end of the Gaming Talk segment. Hello and welcome to the Music Talk segment. First, I'm going to be talking about the new to me albums from Hailstorm, Pretty Reckless, and Megadeth, and then talking about what tracks I liked and disliked and my overall thoughts on the album. After that, I will talk about Metallica's upcoming album. Let's get started. I'm going to start things off with the 2021 album from the Pretty Reckless, titled Death by Rock and Roll. Honestly, I only liked 4 tracks from this album. I get it, this is supposed to be a very emotional album, but I like my metal fast and hard hitting, and this just didn't do it for me. This band has always been hit and miss for me, and this one could honestly be a miss completely, and I don't recommend it. Next is going to be the 2022 album from Hailstorm, titled Back from the Dead. I liked all but one song from this album. Because unlike the Pretty Reckless, Hailstorm actually knows how to make and deliver a good album. I definitely recommend giving Back from the Dead a listen. Finally, we have the 2022 album from Megadeth titled The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. Oh, now this is an exceptionally done thrash metal album. If there is one thing that Megadeth has continued to do is keep that 80s thrash metal sound, even to this day. The songs, they hit fast and they hit hard, and I absolutely love it. I definitely can recommend this album. And now, I am very excited for April 14th, because that is when we get the latest album from Metallica titled 72 Seasons. Yes, I've already got this album pre-ordered since it's been announced. I've only heard one single from the album, and it's good. It's a good song. The only thing I personally noticed is the tone of the song seemed very similar to songs from their Hardwired album. That's not bad. It's just something I noticed, and I found it interesting, you know? But that's pretty much all I got for the Music Talk segment. Hello, and welcome to the What's New With segment. On this segment, I'm going to be talking about what is going on with Transformers Studio Series, as well as Legacy Evolution, and giving my opinion on the figures as I go. First up is the Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Origins Jazz. Now, for myself, Jazz is my favorite Autobot, so I'm gonna get this. However, I kind of equate this to how Masterpiece and third-party Transformers will do like the accessory from one specific episode of G1, but this is like an entire character from one specific episode of G1. It's weird to me. This is a Target exclusive, and I'm assuming it's going to be $25. This next one is the Legacy Evolution Generations Select Titan Class Guardian Robot. I do think this is a good release for those people who may have missed out on Omega Supreme, but I find it completely uninteresting as it is that. Just a repaint of Omega Supreme. I'm going to wager a $250 price tag, and that it'll only be available on Hasbro Pulse's website, but I don't know for sure. Next is the Studio Series, Leader Class Snarl. Personally, I'm over Dinobots. It looks stellar, don't get me wrong, and if I wanted more Dinobots, I would get this, but I'm over him. It's a nice figure in both modes, but again, over it. I'm sure it'll probably be around $50. Next is the Studio Series Core Class Ironhide. This is honestly another character I'm tired of seeing. They did him in Siege, Earthrise, and then the Deluxe Class for Studio Series 86. I'm tired of Ironhide at this point. And this, it just looks whatever, you know? It's a core class. Like, I don't really care. This will probably be around $10. Next is the Studio Series Deluxe Class Mirage, and I don't know what happened, but this thing looks frickin' awful. I was honestly excited because Mirage and the trailers for the movie look so cool, but I have no idea what happened here. The robot mode specifically looks just really bad. It doesn't look anywhere near what the CGI model looks like, and it's a shame. There's so much junk hanging off of him, like, oh my god. The vehicle mode looks great, but I'm gonna pass on this guy. I imagine he'll probably be around $25 as well. Then we have Studio Series, Leader Class, Scourge. This one looks pretty good. The robot mode looks cool. The semi-truck looks cool as well. This is the one figure so far from the new movie that I actually want. I anticipate this being around $50. Next up, we have 4 Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class figures, being Shrapnel, Animated Universe Prowl, Crosscut, and Crash Bar. I would get Shrapnel, and also wouldn't mind finding whichever of the Insecticons is already released. I would like all 3 in Deluxe Class, honestly. The Animated Universe Prowl looks pretty awesome, though. I remember having Deluxe Class Prowl in the animated line. It was sweet. I don't have it anymore, though, so I would love to get this version of Prowl. Crosscut and Crash Bar I have absolutely no interest in. I'm sure all 4 of these will be about $25. Next we have 3 Legacy Evolution Core Class figures, that being Grimlock, Nemesis Prime, and Thundercracker. Grimlock looks awful and I'm tired of Dinobots anyway, but Nemesis Prime and Thundercracker I would definitely get. They look pretty darn good to me. I'm guessing these will be around $10. Next we have 2 Legacy Evolution Voyager class figures, that being Twincast and Metalhawk. Twincast I could care less about, as it's just a repaint of Blaster and not as good looking in my opinion. Metalhawk I may get because I remember that character from several of the IDW comics I've read, but again, I may get it, not sure yet. I'm guessing these will probably be around $35. Next is the Legacy Evolution Leader Class Prime Universe Skyquake. This is one of the first Prime Universe figures I actually like and want to get. The jet mode looks great. The robot mode does too. The only thing is that the gun accessory looks lame. And that's what this character is known for in Prime. I'm guessing this will probably be around $50. Next, as a part of the Walmart Collector Con, we have 2 G1 movie reissue figures of Hound and Thundercracker. I personally don't collect G1 figures, but since Thundercracker is my favorite Decepticon, I will probably get one, if I can find one at a Walmart near me. Hound, however, I have no interest in at all. A part of the Walmart Collector Con, we have the Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class G2 Universe Jazz. I really hate this one. And that is something coming from me, since my favorite Autobot is Jazz. But this is so damn ugly. This is just a repaint also of the Studio Series 86 Jazz, which I already have. Why would I get another one? This is a pass from me. Finally, also a part of the Walmart Collector Con, we have the Legacy Evolution G2 Universe Voyager Class Cloud Cover. This is the first G2 Universe figure that I don't absolutely hate. Yeah, this one doesn't look bad. If I can find one, I may get it, but mostly because I don't have any figures that use the Earthrise Conehead mold. Plus it's blue, and I like things that are blue. With that, that is the end of the What's New With segment. And that brings the first episode of BrettCast to a close. If you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe. If you want to add to the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening, and goodbye.